Yay, I'm live now. So I thought about doing a video like this a few months back. In fact, I think I actually tried and it just kind of sucked. Because there's been too much going on. Uh, Good news for anybody who's been following along on like messaging me on Facebook and stuff. My daughter is finally potty trained. So let me start by saying again, the last few months have been absolutely insane. We start with the whole Gulf of Mexico thing, which I'm keep in mind this is a history channel. We cover history. We do a lot of things internationally. So I'm always going to call it the Gulf of Mexico because that is the standard for the world. But it's only been going downhill from there. So when I did my video in Tartaria, I talked about different types of false information. There's disinformation and misinformation. Misinformation is you mishear something, you repeat it. You heard something in a dream and you thought it was real, and yet, or innocent things like, oh, Columbus tried to figure out if the world was round. No, he knew it was round, but because of just pop culture, that's what people think. That's misinformation. Disinformation is intentional. Usually, well, almost always, it's to cause something bad. What I am seeing right now with this administration is both of these things on a regular basis. We're going to get into why some of it I think is misinformation. The disinformation is kind of obvious, I'm hoping. So before I get into this, let me do a shout out to Captain Marrow. His book's excellent. Pick it up. If you haven't seen the interview, check it out. There you go. Also, we have the GoFundMe and our Patreon in the description. Feel free to join. All right. So history is very important. I mean, not just because it's my life, but you're looking at things that they really do affect the world as it is. We do certain things for certain reasons because of history. Even actually, one of my favorite examples to bring up is in the case of my town. We every now and then we will get a really, really bad rainstorm, and suddenly areas that are not near water start flooding. Now, bad drainage, yeah, but if you go to the old maps, there's stream beds that were drained out, and now the water will naturally try to find those old stream beds. Doesn't matter if your house is there or not, there's technically within the ground still a stream bed. You don't know that unless you're actually looking at the history. When talking about different societies, knowing their history, knowing their culture, knowing how things operate, you need history helps you do that. If you're trying to figure out, man, why doesn't this one thing work? Why something works somewhere else and doesn't work here? Look into the history and figure out why, because that can give you a good answer. Trust me, people have tried things. Some of the ideas that you might have, people have tried them in the past. It's a good way to see, okay, what did they do? Did that work? Now, in the case of the current administration, they are having one of these moments of attempting to rewrite history. What do I mean by that? Now, that's a pretty spicy thing for me to say. Let me start by saying, when I talk to you about slavery, I talk to you about Native Americans, I talk to you about the Mughal Empire. If you ever notice, I give you a background. If I am able to get the information on the people involved, I will give you a full background on them. In the case of the Mughal Empire, it was 2 videos worth of background, because I want you to know who we're talking about. It's not like they're better than you, or it's nothing like that. They're people just like you. It might be 400 years ago. They might be a completely different culture, but they're people. The problem is there is a narrative in I will both sides this one. Both sides do have this very bad habit of making history a political point. It's not. History on its own is not a political point. Most of us who study history, we're trying to get a truth. And that truth is going to be from multiple sources, multiple angles. We want a complete picture. We don't just want, oh, well, they won the war, so let's focus on them, or they were the bad guys, so we're going to do a deep dive trashing them. No, we want to find out what was the whole picture. When I do some of my 17th century videos and I say, there's no bad guys in this time period, there's no good guys in this time period either. That's what I mean. The problem is this administration wants to push that narrative that has never existed. This book's very important too, by the way. We're going to get to it. Okay, so let me pause it there. There you go. So we have had, for those of you not in the United States, we have had multiple instances. We have had multiple instances where executive orders have overreached through the Constitution. Like at the end of the day, at the end of the day, this is what defines our government right here. This is the end all be all. The reason a lot of judges tend to be conservative is because they are supposed to be constitutionally conservative. They are supposed to pick this up, look at it. If it's not in the book, okay, well, what happened historically? Keep that word in mind. They will go back through the Federalist Papers, the Declaration of Independence. Sometimes they'll even go into English common law from the 17th and 18th century. That's what they do. That's the job of a judge. If they cannot line up if they can't find an answer here, well, then they can't really rule for or against it. Well, usually against it, they'll rule against it. What we are seeing right now is a complete departure from this. I know there's a lot of people, well, there's people here illegally. Yeah, there are. That's why we have due process to figure out, okay, why are you here? Oh, you sought asylum, you have the paperwork. Oh, okay. Paperwork's just held up. Okay, cool. Yeah. Oh, you've been here for 80 years and have never done anything. You've paid your taxes. Is it worth deporting you? Oh, you have kids here. Yeah, no, we're not deporting you. It's not worth it. Why'd you bring this here? That's why we have this. There have been instances now where ICE has actually picked up American citizens. Now, a little dirty secret about ICE, this isn't a new thing. This has been an ongoing problem with them, even in past administrations. Because of how they operate, it's very easy to get caught in their dragnet. It's just getting worse. In the case of researchers, historians, like all these different people, they're starting to get turned away when they come into they're going to do a presentation at a school, they're doing research somewhere. They're starting to get turned away because social media posts, or they're part of the woke agenda. Yeah, I wish I was making this up. This gets to my original talking point of the disinformation, misinformation thing. People in the United States right now are getting stuck in bubbles. They are getting stuck in bubbles of information. One bubble is we have to research literally everything. The other bubble is I trust these people that I elected. You can't do that. That's not safe. And I'm realizing there's people that take this the same way that usually the same group takes the Bible. Now, I was a religious studies minor in college. Like, I've read that Bible probably at least 3 times front to back because, I mean, I was a nerd. I was a good student. And again, it's technically a historical document, same as this. Pretty much anything written down in the past, even today technically, is a historical document. And when you get into the 20th century, you have film and things like that. That's historical documents as well. And it's important to study them. Not like if you are somebody who's into military history, yeah, guns are cool. Have fun with that. Tanks. My God, I love tanks. Yeah. Tanks are like the greatest, but it's also important to know what was going on around them. What was the politics that led to that tank getting picked over another tank? Who was in charge? There's somebody from France. It was actually, if I remember correctly, I think she was actually higher up in the French government itself, like in, even forget what part of it. Don't quote me on exacts here. And she actually was refused at customs. She had to go back to France because of apparently she had made a social media post or something that was critical. It wasn't threatening. It wasn't anything like that. Keep in mind, free speech, that applies to everybody here. That's part of our country. Like, it's not I mean, Teddy Roosevelt, he has that famous quote. I'm going to butcher it, but it was along the lines of like, as a citizen, you are supposed to question your president. You should not have blind obedience to your president. And he was a Republican. Frankly, Teddy Roosevelt's one of my favorite presidents of all time. Now, he has some issues, but I like him still. This is history. This is learning how to read this, learning the words, learning how it was applied. That's history. When we talk about politics, there's this big discussion of what really is politics. Are you having a moral discussion or a political discussion? In the case of, let's say, guns, the Second Amendment is a political discussion. It was even one in the time period. When you are talking about whether or not a human being has the right to live, that ceases to be a political discussion. And sadly, there are people right now who are having those sorts of conversations. When we get into the grievances of the Declaration of Independence, for cutting off our trade with all parts of the world, or imposing taxes on us without our consent. When you're talking about unelected billionaires, that's without our consent. Anybody who is within the United States is protected under the Constitution. Now, if they are here illegally, you still need to have due process to figure that out. You can't just willy-nilly ship people wherever you want, because for transporting us beyond the seas to be tried for pretended offenses, right there, Declaration of Independence. That was one of our big grievances. I'm not sure if you were on earlier whenever I mentioned when I mentioned that even U.S. citizens are getting wrapped up in this, and but it's an old problem with ICE. ICE is a very, in my personal opinion, ICE should not exist. We already have customs enforcement and things like that, Coast Guard. We have various entities, Border Patrol. ICE has a very long history of not following constitutional law. And the problem is, like Europe, if you get arrested in Europe for something, oh yeah, yeah. If you get arrested in Europe for something, there's usually protections. Like if it turns out, oh, you didn't do it, or oh, that was an accident. As far as I'm aware, you're not really going to lose your job. In the United States, a lot of employers, if let's say ICE is having a bad day and they decide to pick you up and accuse you of being here illegally, even though you're the your family came over on the Mayflower, they're going to hold you until hopefully they figure it out. There's still a chance you might end up getting sent to El Salvador. That is a very real possibility now. But you're going to end up losing your job if you're away too long. In many cases, these folks are reporting that they haven't been able to make a phone call. They can't get a hold of an attorney, which, again, that is protected in the Constitution. Like, this is one of these instances, like, I don't care what party you are, you can be as right-wing as you want. At the end of the day, though, this needs to be your focus. We can't have lawlessness, and that's exactly what we are witnessing. Exactly, Nicole. And the thing is, like, I've tried to point out to people before, right now, we have a very nasty issue with law enforcement in this country. I know firsthand. Like, most of you on this channel are very well aware of this one. You are guaranteed all these rights, but there's a lot of gray area. And there's a lot of immunity getting passed around where if a DA violates your rights, you don't have any repercussion really against them. They have immunity. That should not be happening. Historically, again, getting back to why is history important? Right here is why history is important. So, one of the big ones I wanted to bring up was DOGE. Now, look, we all want government efficiency. All of us have dealt with just stupidity within government. Like, no matter your party, everything else. Like, we've all dealt with it. The problem is, DOGE is pick whatever job you have. Imagine somebody coming into your workplace and not understanding what things are, but trying to fix your job. For instance, if they came into my office and I said, hey, don't touch the cabbage, do you think they'd know what cabbage was? They would be looking for literal cabbage, as opposed to, actually, do I have any? Oh, I do have cabbage. Right here's some cabbage right here. That's a trade term for scrap fabric. All right. In fact, Raymond, you actually showed me a vendor who does sell like the bigger pieces of cabbage. So there you go. All right, here we go. This is the list that pissed me off. Now, I'm trying to think of how to phrase this. If you are against certain things on this list, I'm probably going to hold it against you, but step back and actually look at the list and think about the wider problems with it. So this one is from the New York Times. I remember when it first got released, people were figuring out like what words were getting flagged. Now Doge is running this thing the way Facebook used to. A lot of you probably have had the experience of you would say something completely innocent and you would get banned. I mean, I got banned for making a remark about redcoats. Oh, this Doge thing is at a whole other level of stupid. So this list of words is what basically will get your grant removed. You won't get your grant fulfilled. In some cases, you might lose your whole department even. Like, this is what the algorithm they have is looking for. Like old Facebook. I don't know if any of you remember, like, gardeners, garden people were getting banned for talking about hose. There are two different types of hose in that garden. I remember my wife got banned for calling somebody a silly goose. Like, this is the sort of thing like Facebook would ban you for. The problem is these are people with a one-track political mind, and they're going over grants for science, history, like literally medicine, anything you could think of, not understanding how some of these words are used, like accessible. If you're trying to if you're doing a grant for some site and you want to make it wheelchair accessible, guess what? You just lost your grant because you were trying to let Governor Abbott of Texas be able to get onto your site. Barrier. Think of any time military history where you're talking about blocking a roadway, things like that. Barrier comes up. Bias. You're trying to avoid different biases. That has nothing to do with racism, classism, any ism. You're trying to avoid your own biases or somebody else's biases when doing research. That's normal in the sciences and even history. Confirmation bias, like right there, that's literally just normal part of academic language. Cultural differences. Yeah, if I'm talking about the Susquehannock and the Swedish, there's some cultural differences that need to be discussed. Like, it's not a, oh my God thing. No, there's cultural differences, guys. Like, wow, disabilities on this list. Every time I look at this list, I see new things, and it aggravates me. Expression. If you're getting a art history grant and you're talking about expressionism, guess what? Done with that one. I love how Gulf of Mexico's on there. And keep in mind, some of these words, you might be using them at different parts, but the way the algorithm they have is working, it might put them together. My favorite one on this whole one is trans, the prefix trans. That's how we ended up with the whole, that whole thing. No, Biden was not trying to make mice transgender. That was not a thing. There are different using different hormones and things to create a control group. If you screenshot it, Nicole, you can actually you can just run it through Google Lens and you can find the list. Oh my gosh, traumatic right there. We can't research post-traumatic stress disorder. Underappreciated. Literally, one of the big things with history. I was holding up a tree. I've made jokes now that they're going to ban Transformers movies because it's about gay robots. Like that's the point. Like I feel like we're at. Uh, Underappreciated. That's something that comes up a lot with history because yeah, everybody wants to talk about like the battles and the wars, but some of the normal crafts that people did, those are underappreciated. Underrepresented. Like these are normal words. They're not there's no weight to them. There's no political weight at all to them. And they're on this list. It effectively cuts most research. Actually, my big one for doing this video was there was a one of the historians I follow over on Blue Sky. He had his grant. Like it was literally everything was done. It was filled out. It was booked. He was going to do a battlefield tour for a bunch of veterans down at Gettysburg. Veterans. He lost his grant. Whole thing just canceled. Right out from under him. Because some teenager working for Doge saw some word, and just decided, that this is wrong. Veterans should not be getting tours, or who knows? Who knows what was the thought process was? Ah, so all that was going on. That was like the first round of seriously, this isn't cool. And then this little beauty came along. Hello. Now, I actually had I had all the slides on this set up, and I realized I had a slide limit. So, sadly, I do not have them all up now. Basically, this is trying to get us to teach history the way most of us older folks were taught it in high school. Like the whole, well, first we did this, then we did that, and then manifest destiny. Never mind that little thing that happened at Wounded Knee, nothing happened. Oh, World War I, World War II, modern day. I think that's boring. In all honesty, I think that way of teaching is boring. It lacks substance. And the thing is, I'm not in the camp of all the founding fathers were racist, because we have folks like Thomas Paine. Thomas Paine needs to be discussed a lot more, and I think people need to learn a lot more about him. The thing that bothers me with this whole executive order, you can even tell like the background of whoever wrote it. There was apparently the African American History Museum did they had some display up that I never, like, in all of my little bubble of information, I never heard anything about it. So I started fact checking. I'm like, oh wow, they actually did have it. That was kind of it was questionable. I don't feel it was presented right. I know what they were trying to say, and I just feel like it could have been worded better. But the only people who were talking about it was right-wing media. I feel like I'm about to do a plug for Ground News, but I don't have Ground News, so if they want to sponsor me, they can. I'd be interested. But that was like the big criticism in this executive order, and it wasn't even a recent exhibit. It was something from like 2 years ago, I think. Here's the thing. Slavery. Oh yeah. Thomas Paine was also an abolitionist. Like he wrote abolitionist stuff even before the American Revolution. Like Paine was one of the absolute best. Oh my god, yeah. That's like the big thing. One of the big things with why I choose like to teach pirate history is because it gives me that vehicle to teach about slavery, to teach about economics, which we're going to get into, don't worry, because there's so much with that. I mean, okay, I mentioned props. Hang on. Wait, oh yeah, cool. Can I boop? Okay. This is a manila. This is what you could trade. You need about 10 to 50 of them for a human being. This was made in England right around the late 18th, early 19th century, right before the English abolished slavery. These were made in such high numbers that they were still being used as currency in different parts of Africa up until about 1946. And even though this is an artifact from a very important time period, they're cheap. That is how, yeah. The thing is with when talking about poor people and talking about enslaved people, you get a lot more interesting stories. Like, oh, this rich white guy did this thing at some point in time. Cool, he could afford to do that. Like, it might be something amazing, and cool, it's decent story, great. I want to learn about the guy that had the whole world against him and somehow did this like amazing thing. That's the American story. That's the sort of thing like we all grow up with, we all strive to be. So things like that executive order, like, no, why are you trying to stop that? That's the stories we want. We don't want the story about this privileged guy who did privileged things. That's boring. That is mind-numbingly boring. I want to know about the guy that was born to slavery, escaped, went to prison, and then next thing you know, he did this amazing thing. That's a cool story. Uh, and something I've been noticing, nearly every interview with this administration, they will try to reference history. And it gives me facepalm every single time because they don't know what they're talking about. That's the thing. Everybody deserves to be remembered. I don't want the guy who we have statues of everywhere. I want to know about that dude that lived down the street in the basement of that one shop who did this one. Like, I want to know who that was. I don't care who that was. Like, we all know who that was. I want to know that guy. Trying to see if I have any. I do not have a prop for that. That is, those are the stories that are more interesting. People don't yeah, Thomas Paine, his story is awesome, and I feel like he needs to be talked about more when it comes to the founding fathers. But I'm biased because I use that word because I've done things at one of his estates, and based on my research, he's a really cool dude. That's the professional term for him. Cool dude. So the issue is with these cuts to funding, we're losing things like this. Okay, this was me doing a contract with the National Park Service. This was up in New York. I was doing a simple cooking display for 3 days, and it was stuff that should have been boring. According to the kids, I was their favorite presenter. was actually looking to see if my old car was there. I do not see it. It's parked further back. My argument with having like less known people's stories, the work is a lot harder to do. Like right now, I got an interview set up with a historian from a completely other continent. I can't say much on it right now uh, because of a historic figure that pretty much all we have in the English sources is his name, his job, his last job before he died, and the thing that he did. So I started backtracking to find his like descendants. So that's going to be a fun one. The reason I say like your well-known figures are boring, again, yeah, you are right. It is subjective because most of us who've studied history and our different eras, we've heard their stories so many times. We've probably told it so many times that it's kind of like need something new. The problem is things like this and things like this, they stop us from doing some of that research. They make it a lot harder. So let's get into one of the things that really ticked me off, the tariffs. Now, as many of you know, I make historical clothing. That's how I afford to enjoy history. Like, this hat's for sale, by the way. It's the last one I've made in a very long time because I've been working on getting orders done. See, we get historians in this chat, and it like turns into these awesome discussions, and then I get caught up in them because I'm intrigued. So, the United States is the second largest fabric producer in the world. We have made all these different. We already have tariffs on fabric because of that. The problem is the fabric that we make, like manufacture in large enough numbers and large enough amounts for it to be affordable, is not the fabric I can use. Like when it's the cutting edge of fabric research, yeah, that's great. That does not help me. I need wool. I need linen. I need things like that. Actually, linen. In fact, this is actually a current problem. Russia has invaded one of the best linen producers in the world. One of my favorite suppliers down in Philly, she was getting her fabric from Ukraine. I mean, this stuff is amazing. Good weight, good texture, perfect for historical stuff, and for right now, it's pretty much gone. I have gotten linen from different places since then, but it's not. It's good, but it's not. It could be better. In fact, like I've said to a few customers, "Oh no, I like it anyway." It's like, yeah, but I don't. I want better stuff. Pretty much, these tariffs have been on our fabric industry for probably about over 20 years, I think now. And nobody's ever actually stopped and looked over them like, is this a tariff that's actually useful, or is it one that's actually hurting people? Now, it wasn't that, like, we all adjusted to it. So, I mean, again, it's been there for a long time. So, paying that little extra to get the fabric we need for historical stuff, it's not that bad. It is kind of bad now, or it was going to be bad. So, when I did my video on the East India Company, when I was talking about some of the shady things they were doing, that was both me telling you, hey, the East India Company, they did this and they did that. But it was also one of those things of, if you see somebody doing this or doing that, it's probably a bad thing. So the East India Company, they controlled the media. When I say the media, I'm talking about the news coming from India and the surrounding area, like the Red Sea, the Indian Ocean. They controlled that information. They were the only ones authorized to be bringing ships in and out of that area. So unless a sailor decided to squeal, they would usually have that information and be able to send it out whenever they wanted to. So, oh man, just got word there's a really bad pirate attack. This guy named Henry Every. Oh no, we're going to be losing. Oh my God, our stock's going to drop. It's going to be bad. Let's sell off before we tell anybody. They literally did stuff like that. Or, man, we really need to get more stocks. You know what? Just tell them there's a pirate attack. Everybody starts selling off. Okay, let's buy it up cheap. Oh, no, no. What? Oh, never mind. It was all good. It was just false report. My bad. Stocks go up. Literally today, we watched it happen. Now, part of when I was describing the East India Company, I made a very strong attempt to explain how advanced the Mughal Empire was. They were just about equivalent with any of the European countries. They had advanced weapons. They had advanced trade routes. Like, they were doing pretty well for themselves. Yeah, they had poor people, but so did everybody else. Like, it was they weren't some, we tend to treat like anybody who wasn't European as like they were so far behind. No. The Mughal Empire was not. So I mentioned on Blue Sky, I haven't really mentioned on Facebook, but one of the big things that makes me uneasy is having so many billionaires in our government working with our stock market. It reminds me so much of the East India Company. So what the East India Company did, they took advantage of there being pirates, and they started offering the Mughals military protection. Pretty much by the, would it be about the mid 18th century, I think. I'm getting out of my era, so if I'm wrong, please correct me in the comments. They had what amounted to one of the largest English militaries. If I remember correctly, it was actually larger than the actual British military. That's how they took over India. Yes, I love Stephen Johnson's book, Enemy of All Mankind. Oh my gosh. He did a really good job. There's honestly, my only criticism is he missed a few things with Every because he did such a good job with the backstory on the Mughal Empire. So, like, the one thing I'm faulting him on, like, he forgot it for a good reason. I've read that one probably about 3 times now. Like, it's one of those books I'll come back to. Uh, actually, again, I'm going to Captain Marrow's book. It's not that thick on George Rayner. He does a really good job of some of the like colonial backstory. Like this, oh my God, the sources. That I'd say, if you want to know, like for anybody who wants to learn more about like Red Sea pirates and things like that, Stephen Johnson's Enemy of All Mankind, Arabian Gold by Captain Marrow, and I'm always going to throw Benison Little in just because I feel like his books are some of the best to get like a nice basis for how the pirates were. But yeah, actually using that book as a reference point, like even Stephen Johnson gets into some of the trade practices of the East India Company. Like that's what they did. they they would lie to make more money. Like here, actually, let me add this to the stage. So yeah, this has been the last. How do I have it at? I have it at 6 months, I think. I actually should probably wear my glasses. Like you see, like it was kind of going up, kind of getting a little confused, and then just boom, and then boom again. All those people that sold off, there were people ready to buy it up, and that's not okay. You don't want to see things like that. Hang on, I had another picture somewhere here. Okay, so if we're having all these tariff wars, what's the problem? Okay, let's start here. I mentioned fabric. Yeah, like we do have a fabric industry here. It's not really helpful to my trade, but other people, yeah, I can see it. We have a very interconnected market. The problem is what they are calling a trade deficit is literal normal trade. If somebody, I don't know, I think I'm charging $45 for this hat. If somebody sends me $45 for this hat, they get the hat, I get the $45. Not a trade deficit. These tariffs make no sense. At the end of the day, the formula they used was not the actual tariffs. It was some of it was trade deficits, some of it was actually trade surpluses. And the thing is, like if let's go with silk, because I typically don't buy fabric from China. I try to avoid it just because the quality usually isn't there. And some of the suppliers, they will say, "Oh, it's 100% this," and you get it. It's wow, that's 100% synthetic. That's not what I ordered. That's awful. I ordered linen from a supplier months ago, and it was not linen. They said 100% linen. It was not linen. But okay, let's say silk. Silk is something I will buy from China because to me, it's kind of like the whole thing with champagne. Is it really champagne if it's not from Champagne? So silk somewhere. Sometimes I get good deals on it. So I'm just gonna say $25 a yard. And let's say I'm doing a waistcoat, so need about 3 yards of silk. I'm paying this vendor about $60 plus, let's say I have a shipping discount, so $10. So $70 I'm sending to China. That $70 I'm going to turn that $70 into $400. Who has a trade deficit there? Nobody. They got paid for that. I made money. Nobody's losing. That's how trade works. With a lot of our trade deficits are coming from like luxury items, things like, well, okay, with China, we do have a lot of issues with Temu and things like that overrunning the market. I understand that. There's certain things that I do think there should be tariffs on. I agree with that. I agree with targeted tariffs. But then there's other things where they're the only ones manufacturing it, or they do something differently that it's a little bit cheaper and it works for this thing or that thing. There's a lot of vehicle parts, things like that. There's ways to do it that you're not destroying your own economy over it. Another thing that was irritating me with these tariffs, and apparently we're still on a 10% blanket tariff, apparently. So the penguins are still getting tariffed. There's things that we cannot get here in the United States. We cannot grow it. We cannot make it. It is absolutely 100% stuff that we cannot do here. My wife just whispered rice. No, we have rice. Like, I actually love brown rice. Some of the stuff like we actually do grow here. I love that stuff. But for instance, shellac from the lac beetle. This is from India, and I believe there's a few other areas in Asia that they make shellac. So your furniture, your different finishings for your furniture, the hats. Actually, that's why I bought this, because I ran out of shellac. So Raymond, wherever you are, yeah, that I need to get more of this because I ran out. I did not realize how badly I'd run out. But right there, that's something that we cannot get anywhere else. And it seems so, oh, well, you deal with historical stuff. You're the only one who has to worry about it. You'd be amazed at all the places shellac will appear. It's used in food, which I think is kind of gross considering it's like comes from bugs. Here's one for you. Cumin. That's Spice Islands. Now, you might not really be that big into cumin. Cool, cool. Allspice might be safe because it's a Caribbean product. So South Florida, you might be able to grow it. Nutmeg, however, is not safe. Cinnamon is not safe. In fact, I'm running low. Cloves are not safe. Paprika is safe. That's something we make here. Ginger is not safe. And you're ready for this one? The thing that pretty much set off the British Empire. That is not safe either. This is one of the reasons why we have global trade, is for things like that. Well, vanilla. Vanilla comes from Madagascar. We also have some production in Central America too, but again, we're putting tariffs there. Coffee. There are so many things that people don't realize we cannot grow here. We might have like a little bit of land here or there that we might be able to grow some, but not enough to meet demand. Well, here's the scary part about this. A lot of these ingredients I picked because we use them in, like, Thanksgiving. Like, even if you are the whitest person in the world and cannot handle spice, guaranteed you have used some of these for Thanksgiving or breakfast, like the all-American Thanksgiving, the all-American breakfast, right there. I mean, ginger, cloves. There's so many recipes people use with cloves. Allspice again doesn't count, but like cinnamon, nutmeg. Exactly. Like, and most of the things like you could think of to be, oh, you know what? We'll use mace instead of nutmeg. I got bad news for you. It's the same plant. Yes, we hillbilly historian here with a shout out to Townsend's. Yeah, if you want to learn more about where some of these foods come from, Townsend's. That's hands down. Uh, I'm pretty sure Italy is having a olive oil problem right now because I noticed, like, this was months ago. I noticed the price has skyrocketed on olive oil, but they're going to get worse. I'm part Italian. Keep that in mind. Like, do not come between me and my olive oil. Matt Miller's another good one. Actually, back when I first started this channel, it was actually one of his videos that I reacted to. He was doing with Henry Morgan's little trek across Panama, and he was talking about eating the leather, and I'm like, do not eat that leather. He didn't realize like a lot of it is treated in formaldehyde. Now, the one thing is, like, if we have a coffee shortage in the United States, I really want chicory coffee to take off. Like, where you mix it like with chicory and a little bit of coffee. I love chicory coffee. I don't know why. Like going to New Orleans, going to Cafe du Monde, that was one of my favorite things. Oh, I love it. And when talking about food, that is one of my favorite episodes of Anthony Bourdain. It was back whenever George W. was going after immigrants. And he did this whole video like talking about like how badly our food industry would be destroyed if we started getting rid of immigrants. And that's just it. And one of the things is like if you're going to wipe out teaching about African American history, indigenous history, I got bad news for you about food. So, barbecue, the American tradition of barbecue. That is like I think I estimate it to be about 30% indigenous, like the grilling style, everything else. Probably around 30 to even 50% African American, well, African technically. I thought it was max. And then yeah. I'm like, wait, no, maybe it's been a long few months. And then a little bit of Mediterranean and then a little bit of English. And that is our barbecue culture. If you took away the people of color from barbecue, it would be very boring. It would just be meat roasted for a little bit without flavor. Like one of the recipes I've been using recently, oh my gosh, I just forgot his name. I just I just rewatched the Townsend episode with him the other day. Ah, one of you can definitely probably figure out who I'm talking about. Oh, nope. My brain just I was not planning on this conversation. He is an African American food historian. He was on Townsend's. He's written several books. He has done amazing barbecue research. He did this 18th century, well, I think it was early 19th century, technically, recipe on Townsend's the one time. And that's what I've been using a lot with barbecue recently. It's like the original Carolina barbecue, and it comes from slave cooking. In fact, a lot of our really fancy, like, if you ever notice the cuts of meat that are used for some of what we consider fancy now, they're really poor cuts of meat. They weren't for the rich people. It was poor people who figured out how to make them good. Like lobster, for crying out loud, was that was a prison food at one point. A lot of the cuts of meat that we use for really fancy food, that is poor food. It's only been recently, like, that rich people got a hold of it, and it's like, "Oh, this is nice. How oh, cool." No, that started out poor. It just it worries me how little some of these folks understand the world. Which, well, oh yeah. Yes. Michael Twitty. There's been another one that I that it popped up in that executive order. It's this whole idea of a victim complex. And I wasn't going to talk about it, but like a few hours ago, like while I was getting my notes started up, I'd popped over to Facebook real quick, and I noticed a historian that we disagree politically, but I respect him as a historian. I respect him as a fellow veteran. And he made a post that I'm not saying I don't believe him that it happened. It just it didn't fit with the community. I'm not going to go too far into detail on it, but even though I tend to be skeptical of a lot of things, I try to maintain respect for people's religious beliefs. Again, where'd it go? Oh no, I lost the Constitution. Pretty much the United States right now. Again, like you got like you don't have to believe in it, but at least give it at least respect that people exist and have different beliefs. The problem is there is a segment of the population that thinks because they're they have a they have a belief that their beliefs are equal to facts, and if you do not support their beliefs, you're somehow persecuting them. When I've complained about Graham Hancock, and like he will go and I'm being persecuted by the scientific community. Archaeologists are coming after me. Flint Dibble did this. Dude, you have a Netflix show. You are making more money probably than a good chunk of historical and archaeological communicators combined. Like, oh my gosh. Representative Luna, she was talking back right before January. She was talking to Jimmy Corsetti, who's another one. Jimmy Corsetti believes in like ancient high technology. The Egyptians had power plants, that sort of nonsense. Him and Representative Luna were like talking back and forth. It's like, wait a minute, that's not cool. And he was convincing her like there's a big archaeological conspiracy, which getting back to this sort of crap. You can see how it's entering our government. Pseudo history, pseudoscience, none of that stuff should ever have equal footing with actual science. Like, yeah, you want to watch some ancient alien stuff? Drink a little booze and laugh, or get high and laugh? Have at it. I mean, I write fiction every now and then. Some of that stuff, you can get inspired by it, sort of. Oh my gosh, Milo is awesome. I mean, for those of you interested, actually, hang on. I can actually do this. Hang on, typing a link in the chat. Boom. Oh no, it popped up as that. No, don't click that link. I don't even know if it came up as a link. Real. There we go. There we go. Here we go. Here we go. Let me remove that one. Delete comment. Well, I can put user in timeout, and it's actually me. So a bunch of us, Flint Dibble, Milo Rossi, like a bunch of us, we do we have a, like, there's, I shouldn't say, I'm talking like there's only a few of us. There's like about 100 of us at this point now. I know we're doing another one this year. There's even talk of doing two, where it's like an online archaeology conference where you can hop between like YouTube. I think somebody did some stuff on TikTok, and it's all real archaeology. Last year I did stones in the river. This year I want to do some stuff on shipwreck archaeology and how we figure out how things looked. There was a recent issue with archaeologists. Apparently, one of the Roman dodecahedrons. This is the first time I've ever said that word out loud, and my Appalachian butchered it so bad. The weird geometric things that we keep finding in the ground from the Romans. Apparently, somebody had replicated one and put it on eBay, and this group of archaeologists got angry about it because they had discovered it. Needless to say, the archaeology community has cracked down on them for it because it's like, you can't do that. We didn't make this stuff. We found it. We don't have the copyright to it. And the fact that it was cited, yeah. I just realized my hair keeps popping up. There we go. And that's actually that gets back to this whole, the political thing, the pseudo archaeology thing. There's this belief that we don't police each other. We do. We do a lot. There was that incident, 3 years ago now, where one of the museums came up with this, pirates defended slaves. And it's like, no, they didn't. What are you talking about? Yeah. Oh, and I had posted on Blue Sky before this. I'm like, hopefully no more news breaks before I do this video. But apparently, this getting into another topic that's a massive problem with this administration. Linda McMahon, she has a bachelor's in, I believe, French. That is her qualification. French and wrestling. She was talking about bringing AI into the classroom. And apparently she has never said AI out loud before, which, I mean, I just butchered dodecahedron. I think I said it right. Please tell me if I said it right. Apparently she had never said AI before. So she said A1. We are bringing A1 into the classroom. Now, I'd prefer if we brought Worcestershire into the classroom, but A1's pretty good. Yeah, yeah. This and this is a problem not just in government, it's becoming a problem in business. AI does not know how to do historical research. Okay? It does not. All it does is take whatever the popular consensus is, which is usually somebody on Reddit asking a dumb question, and calls that research. It's I've seen they've been trying to enhance like predictive text. They've been trying to enhance it with AI. It's not working right. I forget you can start like typing your word like, oh, I know this word spelled like this, but how does it end? And it will give you completely different words, but not the word you're looking for. So you end up having to go to Google and Google search your word. And then you deal with things like I actually the other day there was apparently a bus down in Philadelphia just took off with a car attached to it. And I was on Facebook and I noticed it said something like it was AI. There was like AI options that said something like talking about this driver's interesting choice, and I'm like, oh, okay, let's click on it. Let's see what it's about. And it gave some weird answer. Apparently, there was a bus driver at some point that there was an icy road and they had to get control of their bus. It had nothing to do with the video that was there. And I said, AI, why'd you tell that? I didn't tell you anything about that. And the AI just starts gaslighting me. I ended up like screenshotting the response, put it there. Yeah, somebody said that. Yeah, you said it. No, I did. It's like this is what they want to bring into a classroom. This is what is currently being used to decide whether or not we keep different departments of government. This is what's being used to come up with tariffs. It's why we have tariffs on islands with penguins. Mark Cuban, about a month ago at this point, he had made a post about, well, it helps people understand things. And if they can do that, if they can learn it through AI instead of going to college, that's great. And it's like, but Mark, they're not actually learning anything. It's not teaching you anything. In many cases, it's teaching you the wrong information. You can't replace us with AI. It's not working that way. And I don't know if any of you have seen on Facebook, they're bot farms. Just keep this in mind. They are bot farms. They will be spamming these history posts, and usually they're about 50% right some of the time. And it's got some weird AI image to go with it. And that's what's like, it's everywhere. If you are a history person, you're constantly posting history stuff, you're getting them. We can't let that become our education because it's wrong. It's not right. It's not fact checked. It uses consensus and that's what it decides is right. I think AI has potential. Like when I did my interview with Captain Mara, he brought up and him and I have discussed at length off of interviews. So if I said in the interview or I didn't, he was talking to me about like some of the different AIs that he's like talked to people about. Like I would love something that I could, if there's a certain hat pattern that I've found, I would love to be able to input that into an AI and just turn it loose to try to find stuff that might not have been archived properly. Like there's things that will randomly pop up on like a Dutch floor tile or a random deck of cards that's perfect for some of my research, but it's not cataloged in a way that I can find it. If I could turn an AI loose to find it, amazing. That would be great. That could cut years off of research. I mean, the CAP project, I don't have any floating around here right now. That CAP project, I started that back in probably like 2021. And it's only been since late 2024 that I finally, just by chance, one of the followers here on the channel, he found this deck of cards and it had like literally everything I theorized would exist. Boom, right there. Well, hypothesized. The thing with a lot of AI, it takes the popular thing and makes it fact. And that's sadly what's becoming a thing with certain segments of our population. Oh, everybody agrees this is true, so it must be true. No, no, no. There's a biologist I follow over on Blue Sky. He just posted today. When you debunk something, why do people get mad at you instead of the people that lied to them? Why is that? And it really got me thinking, like, when I did my whole Tartaria video, there were people genuinely angry at me. And it's like, why? I'm teaching you how to do research. I'm teaching you about different parts of history. Like, go into a different archive, find this, and you can look for this. And no, they were mad at me because I tried to help them not get lied to. Sadly, double checking I didn't forget anything. So let me conclude my little talk here with one important thing. So again, I'm trying to stress, I don't care what party you're with. Like, at the end of the day, this is what matters, okay? But Cory Booker, he finally broke Strom Thurmond's beach record. Cory Booker went 25 hours and 4 minutes, although I swear it was 5 minutes. Officially, it's 4. I still want to say it's 5 minutes. Thing is, he covered a lot of actual verifiable history in his 25-hour-long speech. And he didn't just read a phone book. He didn't just read encyclopedia. He gave a 25-hour speech. And as a historian, there were so many things where he would bring up different historical figures and different points. He would bring up the founding documents. Like I'm just sitting there, chef's kiss. Like, this was perfect. If you want to see how history should be used in government, I'm not saying watch the full 25-hour speech, but watch parts of it because he nailed it. He talked about using history as precedent. He talked about the reasons why we need to understand the history behind, like, racism. I mean, his family was part of a redlining lawsuit. If you don't know what redlining is, like, something worth looking up. And it gave me hope. It gave me hope that there are actually people in government that actually understand history, that have actually read history, that aren't just parroting something an AI told them. So If you want to help, all right, if you're in the United States, call your representatives. Just flat out call them up, be like, look, this is a problem. This needs to stop. You shouldn't have done this. You shouldn't have done that. But now that we're at this point, please stop this. If you are outside the United States, pressure your government not to cave anytime we decide to do some weird tariff thing. So far, I don't know if anybody actually has caved, which is amusing in itself. But just make sure your governments don't. If AI stuff, like if you see people trying to push AI, please understand there are dangers with it. And it's becoming way too acceptable. And people want to use it to replace us, not realizing it actually sucks at its job. Now, if you're trying to look for efficiency, don't go into somebody else's office and try to rearrange it. That usually pisses them off. So, yeah. I'm done for now. If any of you have questions, open up the floor. Also apologize. It's a completely different style of video than I usually do. I like doing interviews. I don't like politics, but need to be discussed. I'm trying to see if there's any. Nope, there's nothing else I want to include. Okay. Double checking. Double check. Oh, yeah. One more thing. So, with some of the tariffs on China, we're running into an issue with Asian grocery stores. Those of you who have been through economic hardship, you've probably been to them. You can get a lot of cheap food. You have a lot of options there. Those of you who love experimenting with food, myself included, there's a lot of options you get there that you don't get at anywhere else. These tariffs on China, that's really looking to be a danger for that. There's different things I can get there for historical cooking that I can't get anywhere else. So, just another thing to be aware of. Double checking. Is there anything else? No, dang. Covered it all. Covered it all. Well, there are no questions. I'm going to head out. Have a good night, y'all. Stay safe.